Chapter 15. Soen raised their head, perhaps for the sole reason to imitate a human or possibly the inverse. Everything that Soen did felt perfect, almost as if it moved and expressed itself more as a human than a human,
I know them.
Obsidian said.
The sea dragons are not a God-fearing, highly cultured race. They come from warrior blood. They are cunning. I would be very cautious in dealing with them.
Perhaps a history lesson would be in order.
Soen suggested.
The sea dragons are an evolution of the cornamon dragon. These dragons were the offspring of genetic manipulation by a race of beings near the center of this galaxy, from one of its oldest planets. 7 million years ago, the sea dragons were created from the genetics of air dragons and whales. They have not evolved to be who they are. They were created. Everything that they think, say, and do is an after effect of their insidious inception by the cornamon. They are not to be trusted.
Soen shook his head with smooth precision.
How do you know this?
One who asked, his full attention riveted on Soan. Obsidian, One Who, Soan, Joe, and Oriole were in a deep conversation on the beach, preparing for their negotiations that very evening. It was late afternoon. The day had been warm, but the nights always cooled off enough, so a fire was not only a welcome companion, but an essential one too. Soen sighed. Again, perfectly. Just the right amount of air release, loudness, smooth, constant release of oxygen from his lungs. The pause between the exhale and the inhale. The words were perfectly ordered as always.
It is common knowledge on my planet. The sea dragons are notorious for fabricating their image, and their image is to gain trust when it is not deserved. This is the game they love to play. Once they have the trust, they negotiate as a trusting partner. But behind them is a story of conquest and expansion, an ongoing spread of their culture's supremacy. That is what they desire to achieve. To think otherwise is naive.
And what does your planet tell you about cervitaurs?
One who asked. Soen smiled.
They are highly intelligent. To shapeshift is one of the most sophisticated evolutions ever achieved anywhere or any time. They are respected creatures. However, why this particular servitor is the messenger for the sea dragons? Well, that is alarming.
Why?
Joe asked.
Because in every race, there are those who enjoy the battle of wits, the manipulation of the weaker, the surprise of victory, the not-so-subtle spoils of hidden power. She may be one of those.
She is honest.
One who blurted out.
I trust her. The sea dragons she represents, I cannot trust them, and not for the reasons you cite, but for what they have done to Loon.
Perhaps that is why they have a servitor as their diplomat.
Soen offered.
The cornamon dragons can operate on land or sea. It does not matter to them. It is simply a different medium. They will feign weakness to gain strength. They will claim that they are only 2 in number, and that they are the only ones who can live on land. I suspect they are lying. They are not molded by evolution's hands. They are created by beings who are interested in using their creations for the purpose of expansion outward throughout the galaxy. The sea dragons are their first foray into a new world. The actual cornamon will come much later, after the sea dragons have achieved their conquest.
Why are you suggesting it's hopeless?
Joe questioned.
They are among the most ancient of all races. They want their culture to spread. They want their knowledge to live on. They want what they are to be present in all space-time, and when it is present, it must be supreme. It must be the culture of an entire planet and a solar system. That is how they operate.
You have personal knowledge of the Corneman race?
Joe asked.
Is that true?
They were all sitting around a burned-out fire from the night before. The sea behind them was calm, lapping at the shoreline playfully. The sound of recoiling shells across the sandy beach was like wind chimes billowing into the air in a rhythm that only the sea can orchestrate.
My knowledge of the Corneman is exclusively from an ancient text of my race. Thousands of years ago, they encountered these dragons, and a terrible war came of it. Our planet was all but lost in the ensuing mayhem. It consumed all of our resources at a planetary level. In the end, we claimed a hollow victory, but only because the Cornaman dragons could not survive in our polluted, war-torn world. Somehow, we could.
Sowen's voice gradually became quieter.
They ravaged us, our world, and then left it like it was a piece of garbage, which, in a way, it had become.
Obsidian growled deep inside itself. It was like the grumbling of an avalanche.
And who am I? Am I also a Corneman dragon?
Sowen turned to face Obsidian slowly, scanning its full features.
You could be. You have many of the characteristics, visually speaking.
Sowen nodded.
However, your demeanor, your independent nature, your intelligence, those are all traits of a different lineage.
And what lineage is that?
Oriel asked.
Yours.
The phoenix?
Oriel half laughed in response. Sowen took a quick glance at Oriel.
Yes, the same geneticists that created the sea dragon created another lineage. This time, it was the DNA of the phoenix and the basilisk. This new chimera of the two species became known, generically, as the air dragon, of which you seem to be a solid member. The air dragons were developed in case the sea dragons failed in their mission of expansion and initial conquest. The air dragons were designed to come in next and prepare the world for the actual Cornemen, who would ultimately come to rule the planet.
Why didn't you tell us earlier about all of this?
Obsidian demanded.
We've been negotiating with these creatures in an information void, a void you could have filled yesterday.
Sowen nodded his head in agreement.
I could have, you're right. I chose not to, in order to see if my assumptions were wrong.
And why would they be wrong?
Obsidian asked.
Everything I know about the Corneman dragons is from ancient text. It doesn't mean that those texts are entirely accurate. However, when one who returned to us and described his experience, the sea dragons, at least in my view, revealed their true nature.
And what is that exactly?
Deception to win at all costs, even if it nearly destroys a planet in the process.
One who tilted his head back, staring up at the sky to find the first star of that night. It was twinkling in the late afternoon sky, but it took him a while to find it.
I am not certain of anything but one thing. The sea dragons cannot be trusted, even if an agreement can be reached, if they are who you say they are.
He glanced in Sowen's direction.
They will not uphold the agreement.
Then what are we to do?
Oriel blurted out.
I think Alter is our best asset.
Joe said.
If we can somehow manage to gain her as an ally, it would give us inside information about the sea dragons and their intent.
But if Sowen is right,
One who said.
we already know their intent. If we try to bring Alter to our side and fail, then we tip our hand to the sea dragons, and then an all-out war will be waged. Better to play along and delay. It gives us more opportunity to prepare for war.
There seemed to be consensus with One who, as heads nodded and murmurs of agreement arose. Hunter and a small team of werewolves walked up to the group and slightly bowed.
We're well prepared. Our points of observation will not be noticed by the sea dragons, especially in the dark.
Good.
One who replied.
and stay unobservable unless I signal otherwise.
Understood.
Hunter and his companions turned and walked away.
I'm going to take a short walk.
One who announced to no one in particular.
I'll be back at the appointed time.
Oriole flew over him as he started to walk down the beach.
Would you care for some company?
No, I need to clear my head for the night's festivities.
I can catch a fish for you.
Oriole said.
Are you sure you want to be alone?
Well, if you catch a fish, I might change my mind.
One who flashed a thin, almost non-existent smile. He continued down the beach, head down, pondering the mixture of his thoughts, but all the time hoping Loon would somehow join him. He walked at a slow pace, especially by werewolf standards. Oriole ascended higher into the sky, her keen eyes scanning the shallow waters along the shoreline for any signs of movement. Suddenly, she caught sight of a bluish shadow gliding beneath the crystal-clear surface, prompting her to blink in disbelief. There, below her and to her right, was a creature of immense proportions, rivaling even obsidian in size, effortlessly navigating the water with unparalleled grace. Its sleek form darted toward the open sea with astonishing speed, leaving Oriole awestruck by its agility. Driven by an inexplicable curiosity, Oriole made the impulsive decision to pursue the creature, pushing herself to fly as swiftly as possible to keep pace with the majestic sea dragon. With each powerful beat of her wings, she trailed behind the magnificent creature, which seemed to exude an air of regal authority, resembling nothing less than the queen bee of dragon kind.